Shekoich ma'arganam for preparing kינגסטון, which is very important. I was chamakichidish be'esht minutes why there isn't because the Rebbe Bamrei is going to say a starke Indian. Every community should have a kינגסטון. And Baruch Hashem as the people that Kunam stood up to the task. And machen an achasrich van Rebbe and machen a kינגסטון. So since it's still tashlumim for Shavuos, I want to discuss something which has to do a little bit with Shavuos. Halacha, short halacha inyan. Last week, I gave a sheet for the Nushim Tzitkunis. And one of the halachas had to do with the inyanim of B'cholav in the kitchen Lagaba Shavuos. And one of the halachas which I discussed is regarding to be melabim, to burn out your stove, your oven. People want to bake milchiks, and they have only one oven. It's a fleshig oven usually. This is what you all year round. Regarding that, you have no issue to burn it out and be malabim for cholav. That was the. Afterwards, one of the husbands came over and said, "We know the halacha is that you don't kasher between both and cholav, both to cholav, and therefore this is under shiratanir." So I want to just discuss this Nikida in short. The Shulchan in Hilchos Yontav Siman Tuf Kif Teh Sifai, the Shulchan discusses the inyan if a person is allowed to be malabim a keli from basa to cholav. For instance, he has a barzel, that means spit, a broiler, which is he just made fluden shel gvina. I don't know exactly what it is, if it's kreplach or kinishus, milky kinishus. And now he wants to be malabim in order to make grilled flat meat. So the Shulchan discusses regarding if you can do it on Yom Tov or it's an Indian of tikkun keli. A keli which you cannot use and you gasher it or you toivel it, you cannot do it on Yom Tov, it's a tikkun keli. So therefore, Shulchan has the dion if kashering malabnazan from milch to fleishik is a problem of tikkun keli. In the Shulchan Paskins, it's not a problem. You could be malabn Yom Tov, a spit, from which you use for milchiks, you use it for fleishiks. Comes the Mugan of room on the spot, and it says, from here we see that it's not an issue to kasher from milchiks to fleishiks to milchiks, because the Shulchan says it's not an issue to the Yom Tov. But we know that the ha'olam nahagen is the the Welt hat a minig in this thing that kasher for milchiks to fleishiks. In Mitzosi Kose b'Shem Agoyin Marayin B'bihyam Mipozna, I found written b'Shem B'bihyam Mipozna Sheshuma me'aram yafa, which you heard for the Motcha Yofa, which is we all know is the Levush. He gave it down the minig. The time for this minig, what the oilem is nagging that you don't kasher from milchiks to fleishiks and vice versa. Shem Yasekain, if a person will kasher constantly from milchiks to fleishiks, he's only going to have one keli, and he's going to constantly use the milchiks fleishiks, and we are afraid that basically he will forget to kasher it. As we see him in Chulun, and Chulun is over there, in the Gemara, the Chulun of Chesem at base, that basically a tabach has to have 3 knives, one knife which he shechts, one knife which he cuts the chaluvim, one knife for the meat. And the Gemara asks, why do you have 3? First, he should cut shecht, and then he should use it for the meat, and then he should use it for chaluvim. And the Gemara says, we are afraid that he's going to make a mistake. So the Levish says the reason why we cannot have one keli kashir from one to other because you make a mistake. You forget to kashir it, so therefore you cannot do it. Zuktev dem nemung avruam, but over here we see you could do it. Zuktev dem nemung avruam, v'hu de shirinucha. The reason why over here we are permitted to doing it. Yesh loimer kivish lo oila ma'im shtamshim o eila lai libim lekel migzar. Since over here you always use it, it's a shput which you always use it al liban. So therefore it's not a problem. This is what the Mugav Room says, that it's not an issue over here. The Premagudam of Mplatz brings this minig as azoy the minig. That means lahalucha. Meaning Mugav Room of Mplatz zukt, ilahagli mebus lechulav, nahagin lahatrif mekoidem. We don't kasher it, we make it for a strife, and then we kasher it. Premagudam etufni in Aleph, in Hilchos Pesach, Zug de Munga Vrum Ochat, the Primaguda Mocha, the National Brum Sifkut Lama, he says, Vine Mebuse Lechulav, Ein Lahagin Lahagin, Loy Lalab. He has already Loy Lalab. also not make libn, not only hagula. כמו שכוסם המונג אברום, שימו תוף כיפטס, that's this המונג אברום, which you just mentioned. In Mikol Mokoim Pesach, because over there we see you could cash it, the ganze Haluch, they could cash it from Melechis to Fleischiks. So to them, the Prim Good, but Pesach, Yeshloime, the Magilim, you could cash it when you need Kalim to cash it for Pesach, you could make it from Melechis to Fleischiks. Why? Kiloishai Chashush Pamachs Bashuno. It's not a Chash once a year, but while if it is, he's makbid because it's once a year. So what do we see over here? Prim Good is Machazik the Minik. And he adds on also libn. It's not only hagula, it's also libn. Paisach you could do it. Paisach something else because it is a once a year. It's not a problem. And this in not to kasher milchis of fleischiks is bought la lucha of a lot of poskim. The dugel mavuva, that means the Nord Beyida, the Chsam Soifen, the Chivas, the Adihida, Mishta Berura, and a lot of other poskim, contemporary poskim. A clear halacha, we don't kaponim. The minig we took for halacha, and we don't kasher for milchis of fleischiks. The interesting thing is the Alter Rebbe ignores this whole halacha. The Alter Rebbe, when he talks about Tuf Kif Tes, when he talks about this halacha of kasher, he doesn't bring up how could you kasher for milchis of fleischiks. He doesn't answer. He ignores this halacha. The Alter Rebbe in Hilchis Pesach ignores the halacha. The Alter Rebbe does not bring this halacha b'chlal that you cannot kasher for milchis of fleischiks at all. He ignores it. So there are some which wanted to say the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring this halacha. The Alter Rebbe doesn't hold from this halacha. We could kasher for milchis of fleischiks. Like some poskim say, the Prichudash, Urch HaShulchan, the Chidu, all say you can kasher. The minig zayir. In the Prichudash, we cannot be mechadash nu gezayres if it's not said in Gemara. The same also the Urch HaShulchan says it's kemish mechadash an eigen chazayres. It's not an issue. So some want to say the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring this halacha. He holds the same as the Prichudash. But first of all, it's a bisschen nicht mistaber as a guy kriegen alle Gedäule achroin und makapunen prima guda in Amugun Avrum, the Alter Rebbe goes with the Mugrum so strong, you do over here, it doesn't hold like this. The Noisov, we know, I mentioned already by other Shirim over here, the Rebbe writes in a letter, we cannot be medayik from the Alter Rebbe when he is mashpeh the halacha that it doesn't hold like that. You cannot. Alter Rebbe, zuk teritzem, we don't say, since Alter Rebbe doesn't bring this halacha, then automatically it doesn't hold like this. We don't say such a thing. So we have to say the Alter Rebbe Pashas also holds this halacha. But the problem is, the Alter Rebbe in Hilchas Shavuos, Tuf Tzadik Dalet, which we just learned, dort zuk the Alter Rebbe, bringt Jahr uk the halacha. In Simon Tuf Tzadik Dalet zuk the Alter Rebbe, vanahagin le'afes lechem shenilish bechem chula bechem. The minig used to be that used to make a loaf of bread challah milchik with butter or whatever, to make a milchik challah. Yizahari, zuk the Alter Rebbe, you should be careful keshemasiken atan lekoed mafia that you should burn it out good. Now you're going to make a challah which is basically milchik, and you had an oven which is usually fleishik. You should make sure that when you make libn, make a good libn, because if not, it's a richtige libn, you have an issue. You're putting down a bread on the floor, and it's a problem. So now, what do we see over there? The Alter Rebbe passed us clearly that you could kasher from milchiks to fleischiks. A clear halacha. So what is the end? What's the nikida? So again, as I mentioned before, we cannot make a hechrech that the Alter Rebbe, if he does bring halacha, it doesn't hold like that. So we have to say the Alter Rebbe holds his halacha and also holds it to Tzadik Dalet. And we have to say the nikida of the Murim is like the Emes the Kasha. Let me take a step back. The Mugavrum itself, which brings down this halacha to Kifes, that you cannot kasher with the fleischiks, he himself passes ochad in Tuf Tzadik Dalet that you can. He said Alter Rebbe, which says that you make sure to kasher the oven well because it's a fleishik oven and you want to bake milchik chalas, you should burn it out good. That's a Mugan Avrum. So the same Mugan Avrum which brings down this minig not to kasher milchik fleishik, he brings down in Hilchas Shavuos that you could kasher. So a korach we have to say that there's a chilik. There's a chilik. This is a chilik zwischen Tov Kiftes. It's a chilik Tuf Tzadik Dalet. Now, what is the reason? Oh, okay. Aber ich will uns nehmen am Minute. Now, I'm getting to this Nikida. The Machta Shekel is masba the Mung Avrom. The Machta Shekel and the Mung Avrom Tuf Kiftes explains the Mung Avrom, and it says like this. The reason why the Mung Avrom says that you could use the spit, you could cash it in the Yontav, he says, what does the Mung Avrom say, the words? Kiven shel oilam I'm shtamshim bo elodai liben lecken mizge. Learn pshat the Machta Shekel, and some other people also learn this pshat. That the Mung Avrom says as well. Since you talk about a spit, which you make broiled chicken, and now you're going to broil something from milchiks. Since always a spit is always used with fire, so automatically it's going to be live automatically. Since it's going to have you're going to make it in a very high fire, automatically it's going to be live automatically. So that means, since automatically is going to be in of living, so it's not an issue. That if I have an oven, which I'm not going to make at high as living. For instance, we know preheat. The women today, the things which need to be preheat, not everything needs to be. Cake needs to be preheat. Usually it's preheat for 350. 350 is not living kal even. 550 is living kal. 350 is not even living kal. Then you have stuff which you could put, which they put in the oven when it's cold, and you put in it bakes together with the oven. So if this is the Nikida, Kim Toza the Machza Shekel's husband doesn't help us, because by us we don't have this heter. The Machza Shekel learns that the Mung Avrom Machta Chilik, that whenever it's going to automatically be a libn, then you don't. It's not a problem. But that's only if it's in a case which only to be libn. In our ovens we don't have this heter, so therefore we don't have this heter. So falls away this heter. This is how the Machza Shekel learns Pshat in the Mung Avrom. So therefore we're not in some geholfen geworden with this Machza Shekel. Adraba. According to this, we have a problem of the Tanir. But then there's a Shara Melech of the Rambam, and Hilches Yontov. In the Shara Melech brings down this Mung Avrom in Simon Tuf Kiftes, and it says you're bringing a halacha that you cannot kasher milch to fleischix. Is the mitzvah beferische smak, which the smak says clearly that if it's a kele ben yoima, it's also medina to kasher. If it's eine ben yoima, you can kasher. Betoch advurim get razug as a kele buser she'eine ben yoima can kasher in sechulav. So what are you bringing down? So anai isi when the smak says clearly that basically as is mitter. This is what the Shara Melech asks at the Mung Avrom. Now, B'mamra Misger, and let me just, the kasha is nicht as a starke kasha, but it's 100% sure that the Rishonim had no such a minig. This is a minig which happened, developed later. But Akapunim, his Ertel Kili verstanden, Mung Avrom meint to say, Lage and Hage Anushim the Rishonim, so he brings a beferish smack. But he says the minig is the Chalsa minig. It's still a minig, and he gives a different reason. He says the reason is why you shouldn't do it is because since the smak says that you medinates also the kasher a kaile ben yoyim from bosser tzicholov, so therefore hat man machmar gewein even a kaile she eine ben yoyim gut ben yoyim, which this we see in halacha kaile ben yoyim eine ben yoyim. So since ba ben yoyim is us medina, so therefore hat man is machmar gewein a fille ba eine ben yoyim. If this is the reason, and by the way, it is interessant, as the marsham in the chivas when kocht sich in der Indien, sucht v'tam zeh hi anuchan. Sucht the B'shar Amelech Shantos, he is anuchan. According to this reason, comes out a mordige Sach. Anything which doesn't need hagula nor libn is not a problem, because only by hagula we need it to be eine bayoyim. But libn it could be bayoyim. That's the cloud, because it burns it out and it nimmt aus the blias. So according to the Shara Melech Pshat, any tanir we have no issue. A tanir have no issue because it's libn. And libn machamish dechshashi eine beyamute ben yoyim. Kimt aus der Erdglebschaft kili in der Mung Avrom, oder als der Mung Avrom meint es so chilik zwischen libn, a chilik zwischen libn or hagula. Von meile kimt es aus so. According to this time, our ovens is not a problem to kasher because we don't need to have a ben yoyim animal. We have no chashash, so therefore it's not an issue to be asher always. But mine is so. The alter Rebbe, it's not a hechrev that doesn't hold this halacha. Could be yes, it doesn't hold, but not michter. But even when we say that he holds the halacha mugavrom, the reason of it could be the Shara Melech's reason also. So therefore, ich kann nicht machmer sein, according to the Alter Rebbe, wenn begann bringt schon der Lucha, in so machmer sein wie der Alter Rebbe, wie der macht der Shekel in Pshat. Nein, I will suchen macht der Alter Rebbe holds the mugavrom, at least suchen so the Shara Melech. I think in other Pshat, verwusst machmer gewesen, in der Gemeinde habe ich es gesehen in der Achroinim, aber ich habe nicht gesehen jetzt. And the reason is because since it could be dus liegt auch der Shara Melech's Pshat. Since ba Hagolo you have to wait ben yoima, so therefore, since you have to wait ben yoima, so you can't cash it right away. So you have to wait a day, at minimum of 24 hours. Once you have to wait, you could forget if you did cash it, didn't cash it. Yeah, you could think maybe I cashed it. You can't forget it. You don't do it right away. But Tanit, you can do it right away. Tanit, you could cash it ben yoima all the way, right away. So you could have a fleshig oven. You right away bake milchiks. Right when you finish baking milchiks, you switch it right back and you go to fleishiks. So therefore, it's not a problem. So Kim does all the Tanirim have no issue. So basically, the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring this halacha. So we could say he doesn't hold this halacha. You could say that he does hold. But even when he holds it, we could say he holds like the Shara Melech, which are a bunch of chroinim, with the Marsham says that's tam nuchen, that's real tam. So again, why we don't need to be machma a chimra al gab chimra. Now, when it comes to shvias, again we have another het. Because remember, we said even the Prima Gudim said yom machmer an even al libim. You remember the brought down the Prima Gudim says clearly tufni in al even al libim. But it says once a year Pesach, once a year. So therefore, for sure, it's not a problem. So if a person wants to be machmer and not all year kasher, at least for a shvuos, he has no issue to kasher it once a year and kasher it afterwards back. Because we have the Prima Gudim who says machmer, we still have on our side too. Interessant, the Marab, the B'chi Yosef in Zalna Chivas, for toch mit dem as. For shvuos kann man sicher machmer, Michael sagen, weil once a year it's not a problem. Ich will aber like noch eine Kide. What this is, the whole thing of not kasher in an oven or os, is that man dan zijn bechal zo iser. Because we have to start thinking bechal if our ovens bechal are real fleishiks. And let's say it's a real fleishiks, if our ovens are real fleishik. But I feel we will say it's real fleishik. We have to see if baking milchiks after fleishiks without kashering is such a big iser when it doesn't touch the walls. When it doesn't touch the walls, then it's a kaila. Because then you have to go into Zaya or you have to go into Reiche Milse. And Reiche Milse in Paskemanish. Zaya is a Tanner Gudel. We have enough sibas to say that if you're putting baking in a fleshig oven, you made a mistake in a fleshig oven, you bake without kashering, you baked a cheesecake in it, yeah, you cannot eat it. There are some poiskim, which we had it once in Israel, which was a big fight at Barnes Gida, which he wants to go, someone wants to go like Tchila, that you don't have kasher. But again, nobody accepted it. So I'm making it clear, from Milchus to Fleisch to Tanit, you have to kasher. It's a Milchus to kasher. Kimiv Lim Kalas Genik, or there's kasher. But to say that Chamoire, Efshe wird vergessen, vergessen, was ist geschehen, ist auch nicht so gefährlich. So therefore, Hayoyz Ruin Mikol Zeh. Now, ich meine nicht, dass ich dachte, es geht mir raus, als ein ganzes Jahr, I got a bunch of person going with this in the kidda, a tanner from milchis to fleishiks, all year round you could kasher. Not only for shvuos, all year round, whenever a person makes a simcha, you could kasher it from milchis to fleishiks. I only suggest right away after you made your fleishik of milchis, because you baked for a Shabbos Sheva Bruchas, for a Bar Mitzvah, right away turn it back to fleishiks. Because then, this can happen. You wait, I'm going to turn it back when I'm going to make fleishiks, and by the time you're going to forget that you made milchiks inside, and you're going to get problems. But since we don't have to wait 24 hours, so right away after you finish, when you change from fleishiks to milchiks, finish it, right away burn it out, that's all year round. Is a problem when you're talking about a tanir. Kalam was in Kalam, the kasher Kalam, that is an issue, but we're talking about the halacha. And the only time in which we have to kasher for milchis fleish is if you first push it, or you make it reif, or you push it first, you put it first for part of it for a while, and then you change it, or if it went through 12 chadoshim, which you didn't use it, then is also zoom the chroinim, you could change it to milchis fleishiks. That's by gahagula, but by tanir by libn, it's not an issue, and you could do it lekitchila for milchis fleishiks.
You said that tanir is even called.
Tanir is even called.